Hey guys, and welcome to a showdown between two top-tier competitive players. On the left-hand side, leading the forces of the Wood Elves to Bleakreach River, is the mighty DBD's very own Stormrunner, up against Black Phillip and the legion of undeadly ghouls he does bring, with the forces of the Tomb Kings. We're on Bleakreach River, which is an absolutely gigantic map, so we'll slow down for the start of going through the armies, and then speed it up a little bit to get to the action. But anyway, for the forces of the mighty Wood Elves, we have Dryads dotted through the front line. They're relatively cheap, good damage dealers. Should be able to pull apart bone from rotting flesh, really break down that Tomb King front line. Leading them, of course, is going to be the ultimate Dryad, Drycha herself, a spiteful lady, woodland sprite of dangerous proportions as well. Coming in roused by wrath, she also has Law of Shadows, so she's particularly underlooked, I think, mainly because she was overshadowed a little bit by the Sisters of Twilight, but really good Law of Magic, coming in with the Pendulum, Enfeebling Foe, and Melkoth's Mystifying Miasma. The ability to summon tuneless Dryads is also pretty fantastic, as well as the Fanatical Resolve, increasing the strength of nearby troops the weaker she does get. She's also going to be coming, of course, with Smoke and Mirrors and Blessing of the Ancients. I normally cut Blessing of the Ancients, I don't think it's particularly useful, but it looks like that is going to be coming to the foe. She's going to be assisted by two Glade Captains. Glade Captains, again, a fantastic new addition to the Wood Elf roster from the latest DLC. They're both going to be bringing up the Dance of Lurk, increasing melee defense, as well as Deadly Onslaught, which is quite nice in stuff indeed. See them on horseback. I don't normally see them on horseback. Normally they're on foot, kind of working to protect the Lord with their bonus versus large and all that good stuff. In the central pocket, we do have two units of War Dancers. Again, like the Giant, should be able to cut through chaff rather effectively. And a nice little contingent of triple Glade Guard of Starfire Shaft to help bring down some of the larger constructs and rain hell from afar. We have a nice little bit of cavalry as well. Wild Riders are hidden in the trees, one of my favourite units in the entire game from day one. Very cool and badass looking. And double Glade Riders with Hagbane tips. Incredibly pesky and annoying to deal with skirmishers who can poison you whilst laughing, dancing away on their mighty elvish steeds. For the force of the Tomb Kings, we do some carrying up in the sky, fantastic counter-skirmish force. They're not going to win any battles themselves, but real pesky and annoying. Going to hop on top of Way Watchers, Archers, and all that good stuff. And that's the same for the horses. We have Nekahara Horsemen. It looks like 2 units down on this flank, as well as a couple of the units of Archers as well for lovely counter, and as well as some more horsemen on the far side. Now, the main battle line is going to be just a mixture of skeleton warriors and skeleton spearmen. Cheap, cheerful, happy to be here and just have a nice little day out in the sun. They're going to be absorbing a lot of the damage, while the rest of the damage is dealt by the large entities in the build, such as these sneaky snakes, the Eyes of the Desert, Regiment of Renown, sneaky boys. They are very powerful. And I'd like to point out, the Tomb King DLC, although I don't play them very often, is absolutely beautiful looking. These models are insane. Coming with magic damage, they have anti-large, stalk, all that good stuff. Looks like we do have 1 unit of Skeleton Chariots in the back and 2 Screaming Skull Catapults. Very good in this matchup. You can see they are now unleashing hell upon the Dryads. Leading the forces here, we do have a little Tomb Prince working as a bodyguard to Ark in the Black, coming with a humble Spirit Leech, as well as all his items and abilities. The Glade Captain, one of them is getting hit by a Spirit Leech, but they're doing a nice little bit of counter skirmish. They are rather accurate at whipping shots into characters like this. And Ark in the Black's not the most tough of folk. I mean, he's built up of bones, so a few arrows to him should do him some good. Dryads do get absolutely pummeled at the moment. Now, normally they do come in, I believe they've got their little bit of physical resistance. That's going to be overlooked, of course, by the Screaming Skull Catapult and their magic damage. A perfect target for them. Lovely little cycle charge in the front as well by the Horsemen, trying to get some free value, although they've stuck around a tiny bit too long, allowing Drycha to get into combat with them. And all of a sudden, this is turning into a bad charge from the Horsemen, but it's going to be pinning back the Wood Elves that little while longer. The cavalry contingent of the Wood Elf forces have whipped round to the left-hand side. There's a nice little centrepiece here. And the Wild Riders are going to be dancing towards the Horsemen, bounding across the field on their mighty Steg Knights. Oh, I suppose they're not Steg Knights, they're the smaller Stegs. I wonder how that works, if these guys actually have the babies of the Great Steg Knights, I don't know. But the Dryads do push forward here. It looks like the Ark in the Black as well, once again, going to get a little bit cheeky, trying to bait in the Glade Captains to the sneaky snakes, who have now been spotted. And a very good play here by Stormrunner, realising the threat and going to fall back. He's not falling for any of those tricks, but I really like the idea there with the stalking from those bad boys. Wild Riders are caught on some skeleton spearmen, certainly something they don't want to be doing too long, so they do pull out here and get away from the snakes as quickly as possible. Glade Riders are going to take this time as well, just to peel off where possible. Looks like the catapults are going after the Glade shafts, which is a good idea because they're all kind of bunched together at the moment, taking huge damage. But in come the War Dancers, one of the most badass looking units in the game, going to roll, flip, and slice their way into combat. mighty shield and weapon will be hewn against them, but the War Dancers are going to be able to kick and scream their way through this front line very quickly, because they cannot get focused down, because of course the Screaming Skull catapults have other targets, although the archers are now in range, focusing down at these skeleton chariots themselves. Drycha is leading broken forces right now, though. A lot of the Dryades are starting to flee for the hills. War Dancers are getting peppered down by the horse archmen. Dryades managed to get around the flank as well. Once they push these guys back, they should be able to come up and say hello to the Screaming Skull catapults, do some pretty decent damage to them all round. It looks like the Glade Riders are unfortunately having to waste a lot of ammunition on carrying, but at least it gets them off the field. And Wild Riders have unfortunately been caught. It looks like Stormrunner did pull them away into the forest and then kind of forgot about them. And the Tomb King player did not forget. He never forgets. The horsemen do charge in. No, it's not the worst situation. Wild Riders are incredibly squishy, so I don't like taking the charge like this, but now their fighting is going on in the forest. They're certainly going to be having a good day. They are woodland folk after all. In the back lines, it looks like some of the Glade Guard have been finished off and they're kind of getting driven away at the moment, but double Glade Captain quite happily firing in at the moment. Dryads and War Dancers starting to push into the back line. A beautifully cast summon from the Tomb King player, though, is going to distract the Dryads. War Dancers decide to pull back, allow the Dryads to fight that, and get back here instead and protect the back line. Good micro by both players there. Very close game so far. In the distance, Dryads once again are slowly clawing their way through the spearmen, but the archers are just peppering them at every opportunity. I haven't seen the summons yet of Drycha go down, I don't think, so she's probably keeping those in the back pocket for a little bit later in the game. War Dancers desperately trying to catch up with these warriors, trying to cut them down from behind, hamstringing them and all that good stuff, as the Glade Captains as well as the Glade Guard do fall away. And it looks like it is going to work. Those warriors have taken a huge amount of damage on the Glade Captains, actually going to turn to engage in an attempt to slow them down. But into the trap, Skeleton Horse archers are now going to be floating out to this side, running over the elves who are desperately trying to flee. Glade Captain is going to be dancing into the fray once more, bounding and leaping into battle, but that's a lot of warriors to cut your way through, especially when you're being shot in the face by a catapult. War Dancers have very quickly cleaned up that unit on the left-hand side before hopefully coming over here to help support. Dryads are now once again trying to push their way into the back line, but the cavalry play from the Tomb King player has been really top-notch, trying to plug the gaps where possible. Dryads now need to cut their way through all of these guys before trying to push in. It looks like Drycha is going toe-to-toe with Arkan as well as a Tomb Prince. Now one of the summons has gone down. We have Drycha's special Dryads running into the back. These guys looking pretty badass all round, and the Screaming Skull catapult crew is going down without much of a contest or fight. Looks like the Eyes of the Desert having a little bit forgotten. They need to be pulled into the engagement a little bit more. In the distance, those Wild Riders are slowly beating back the Horsemen with a lot of aid from those Glade Riders, but both of them being kept out of the main engagements. Spirit Leech is going down on Drycha. Oh no, maybe not. It's going to feed with phone. In fact, on the Tomb Prince, are trying to allow Drycha to survive. Double Captains are coming in as well to help support this hero battle. Heroes of legend on both the side of good and evil, clawing and ripping at each other. It looks like we are going to be getting a cheeky Ushopti summon. The Tomb Princes decide not to play fair, which of course does fit in with the evil kind of approach from them. And we have the Sneaky Snakes unleashing shot after shot into the Glade Captains, doing huge damage because of that anti-large, and one of them has indeed been forced off at the moment. War Dancers need to desperately go over here to help assist. Glade Captain has escaped though, and looks like Drycha may be able to. One of the catapults is completely out of order, and the second one is going down. This summon has managed to take out 2 catapults. Very impressive work by them all round. Balance power incredibly dead even still. A pendulum has been cast down on the spearmen. Almost perfectly timed, just a tiny bit too late. Looks like it does clip a couple of guys though, and the War Dancers will now be able to run in and do some pretty serious damage, although it looks like they're trying to catch themselves on the Eyes of the Desert instead. Not an ideal target for them, of course, because they are anti-infantry, but these guys need to be stopped, and of course they still have a huge amount of damage output. The Ushopti are going to be brought into place, pinning the War Dancers and allowing the Snakes to escape once more. Drycha continuing the fight up against the Tomb Prince. Doesn't look like it's going her way too brilliantly, as a Skeleton Warrior someone has been brought down on this Glade Captain to try and finish them off. It looks like their steed may just be able to navigate their way through the Skeletons, get to safety, and then just start whittling in shots from afar. And that's just what this Glade Captain is doing. Now it's the Wood Elves not playing fair, as Drycha tries a honourable fight with the Tomb Prince. This Glade Captain is having absolutely none of it, firing shots in. And Drycha's no joke either. I mean, she's coming in here with her mighty big claws. Bow shots are hitting this Tomb Prince, and it looks like he's going to be running for the hills. I don't blame him. If Drycha runs towards you, she has really funny running animations where she kind of runs like an anime character. Charging after him, and yeah, there's no escape though. Although, just as I say that the snakes actually launch Drycha onto the ground with some beautiful shots. But over here, there is simply another Glade captain. Looks like the Wood Elves did win the skirmish phase, which of course they are known for. Glade Riders are now poking their heads over here, and Wild Riders are returning to the field. Rain and fire down. It looks like the Tomb Kings are looking really light on their feet at the moment. In the distance, we do have some horse archers who are returning after hunting down some more of the Wood Elf folk who have now completely shattered. There are some Dryads who can come back to the main engagement. Balance power now in favour of the Wood Elves. That Archon did in fact die. Completely missed that, of course. Expert cast in there. I'm assuming the Glade Captains and Drycha combination simply managed to drag him down. This Tomb Prince is starting to crumble, but trying to get the last kill on Drycha at the same time, who is currently surrounded by Eyes of the Desert. Wild Riders bound into the fight. Dryads as well react to the cries of their lord. And the Eyes of the Desert and Tomb Prince are looking pretty beleaguered right now. Wild Riders do break off, but more War Dancers do pour into the fray. Looks like the Glade Riders are going to charge it into combat as well with Spearmen to try and keep them out of the main engagement and allow the other unit to just rain fire down, poison the enemy, lower their stats. As you can see, both these guys are currently poisoned. And the Tomb Prince not faring super well in this fight anymore. Oh, how the tables have turned. Drycha roars victorious. And it looks like she's... does she have one more summon left in the bank? I think she does. And that could be pretty huge. The Glade Guiders here are almost broken. There's a ton of Tomb Kings left around here, but the Tomb Prince has indeed gone down. Drycha reigns supreme. Eyes of the Desert have enfeebling foe popped on them, and it looks like they're starting to waver and kind of run away from the main engagement. Some Archer fire is coming back in. It looks like some of the Glade Guard have returned to the fray. Glade Captain as well, consistently focusing fire down at the Eyes of the Desert as Drycha once again laughs in their face, kills a couple of models, and that is probably going to be game. I don't think there's any way back for this. The Glade Riders have surrounded the Spearmen, and they do start to crumble and shatter. Very well played to these guys. That was an insane game, and it looks like Drycha's just about going to be able to survive it. Incredibly beat up. Only 700 health left. The arrows are now flying, and if the Wood Elves are allowed to sit there and shoot, they can pretty much take down anyone. Drycha not having the best kind of ends there to her battle, but she does scream victorious. As I said before, very well played to both Stormrunner and Black Phillip. Fantastic game. Always love to see some good Wood Elf play. Particularly kind of straying away from the meta of just going like Ariel Death Blob or going Waywatcher kind of a kite build. So really fun build from Stormrunner. Every time I watch him play Wood Elves, I'm always like, oh man, I need to get back into play Wood Elves and try some more fun builds with them. We will go through the damage value and damage stats and stuff in a second, but if you guys did enjoy, feel free to give the video a big old thumbs up and subscribe for more Total War Warhammer content. We drop new content every single day. We're going to be doing a stream later today as well, which you can take part in, starting at 5 PM GMT, I believe. It'd be roughly around there. I'll put a notice up on the channel, of course, and it's going to be 2v2, so we're doing a collaboration with another YouTuber, Logic, and who's like pretty new to the YouTube scene. And we're both going to be on a team, and then whoever wants to join the lobby can join, and then we fight in battles of 2v2, kind of Team Duck versus Team Logic. Should be some good fun, so certainly keep an eye out for that. If you want to, well, one, get a heads up on when that is going to be coming out, send me replays, get involved in the tournament scene and so forth. You can join my Discord. There's a link down below in the description. There's also a link to my Patreon and other ways you can support the channel. But anyway, awesome stuff by both these players. Black Phillip, Archon the Black, 0 kills. Not doing too well for himself, but still 745 damage value. His real main power is going to come in those Spirit Leeches, which he did manage to pull quite a few off, whittling down the Glade Captain and so forth, but wasn't really alive long enough to really make him pay for himself throughout the whole battle. The Tomb Prince as well struggled, went toe-to-toe with Drycha, doing some decent damage, but as soon as the table started to turn on him, he really just started crumbling and kind of running away. Again, more of a bonus versus large combatant. If Durfu was brought to the fray, if the Sis had been brought to the fray, he'd been a much more loyal and decent bodyguard. Frontline, of course, just got absolutely mushed. That is the idea, though. They're there just to hold the line for as long as possible. And Dryads and War Dancers are going to cut up most infantry lines, so don't feel too bad, Skeleton Warriors. You did a fine job. Horseman play was pretty good initially, did kind of struggle in the late game a little bit when something got kited too far away from the main fight. Still did good damage up against the Wild Riders and so forth, but the real beautiful play from Black Phillip was intercepting units that were trying to get on top of those catapults in the back line time and time again. It looks like Stormrunner was going to break through that back line, and one of these horsemen would say no, including the Chariot, and the Horse Archers did some really beautiful work. 870 value here, 880, 700. Karen unfortunately just did die, but you know, they do their job being a pain and just hunted down those Glade Riders, making them waste their ammunition. Sneaky Snakes did a fantastic job, 1,705 damage value, certainly nothing to laugh at, 5,811 damage dealt, very impressive stuff by them. I love the ploy of putting out your characters to spirit leash the enemy, and then when the Glade captains get close, you try and fall back to the Eyes of the Desert, who are currently stalked, to obliterate them, and they did manage to obliterate one of the captains kind of through the midpoint of the game, but still, yeah, it didn't quite work, that little gambit, but I still praise it, of course. And the Scream Skull catapults, 850 and 600 damage value, really good artillery pieces, particularly in this matchup, because Dryades are so common and popular, and the other infantry options for Wood Elves are either really expensive, or tightly compact formations, which catapults are good against anyway. For the forces of Stormrunner, the mighty Drycha, 1,593 damage value, 9.5k damage dealt. Beautiful play for her all round. She's disgustingly cheap, and that's why I think she's going to be relatively competitive when people, I mean, people do experiment with her a bit more now, but Orion, Ariel, Durthu, Sisters, there's so many good Lord options, she kind of gets swept under the rug a little bit, but having summons on the Wood Elves is actually really quite clutch. Both the Glade Captains performed absolutely fantastic, 1.2k damage value on this one, 1.3 on the other one, slightly outperforming them, although they did lose on the kill count. And yeah, just good on the horseback, just annoying units. We're just going to poke you down slightly from range, and we do have to engage in combat. We're going to be buffing everyone around us. They also have a really other cool item, which Stormrunner didn't bring, which also increases the melee attack of all nearby troops and the reload skill. So I often have these guys on foot, sitting next to Durthu, with those abilities popped, and it's a pretty disgusting combination. Some of the Dryads got absolutely slaughtered, others did the slaughtering, which is the way with such front lines. Equally with the War Dancers, one unit got 2 damage value, not fantastic by them, but the other one, 835, 217 kills. Beautiful work from those ladies. The Glade Guard did get shut down rather effectively from the catapults, but that allowed other units to shine, and they did come back in the late game to do some pretty decent work. World Riders, 1,000 damage value, not too shabby whatsoever, and the Glade Riders coming in with 800 and 846 damage value. Hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time, peace, and as always, stay awesome.